Welcome one, welcome all to Friday, and something I hope is going to be a little bit fun today with Lugapalooza, which in essence will touch on a couple of versions of Lugnut, but it's really going to focus on good old animated Lugnut, someone I've never looked at on the channel before. How good is the original in comparison to, say, the Cyberverse Clobber, known as Lugnut in some places, or the Reveal the Shield Lugnut, or this little Lugnut? It's everything Lugnut in the latest GotBot True review. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And like I said, this is kind of a Lugapalooza. So we previously looked at the Cyberverse Clobber, known in some places as Lugnut. I'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes, as well as the Reveal the Shield. I'll probably end up putting a couple of cards in for those two reviews somewhere along the line. They will serve herein as a source of comparison. We're going to look at this. This is a fast food, I think it's McDonald's figure from 2007, I guess, 2008, somewhere around there. It's nifty for what it is, as simple as it is. This will also be discussed, this will also be kind of marked, this will also be kind of used for comparison, but the real focus is going to be this bad boy, the animated Lugnut, who I've never looked at on the channel, I've never handled until now, and man, oh man, is there an awful lot to like here, with really only one gripe. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. For now, how about we head over to the table and look at everything to do with this guy and this guy. And we'll talk a bit about the others as well. Let's kick off Lugapalooza. So welcome to what I'm going to call Lugapalooza. Although, let's be realistic, it is essentially going to be the review for the animated version of Voyager class Lugnut, going back in time a little bit. We looked at Clobber, though in some nations and in some countries, Clobber was not Clobber. Clobber was not renamed Clobber. It was still Lugnut, and rather than being female, it was still a male character. It just so happened that this version of Lugnut had a tank body. That's why Clobber's here. Although some people kind of look at Clobber as like the little sister of Lugnut. And I guess there's an argument for that as well. And we previously looked at the Reveal the Shield version of Lugnut. He's a bit of a big beefy boy, courtesy of our buddy Razor Bear. So, you know, I guess if you want to see something more focused on them, you can go back and look at review 760 for the Reveal the Shield Lugnut, and ironically review 670 for Cyberverse Clobber. And Clobber was kind of ultra class, which is like the Cyberverse version of Voyager, kinda, sorta. Kind of funny though that this one is review 760 and this one is review 670. I'll put a couple of cards up there if you are so inclined. Obviously this one, the biggest departure being a tank, so we're going to take that out of it. We'll have a look at the robot mode in comparison a little bit later. And I'm going to take this out of it for now, though we're going to revisit this in a moment. And in essence, I wanted to show just two things here. One, both of these planes are fairly large in size. This one rolls nicely on landing gear. So does this one. This one has a rear landing gear and a forward landing gear. They both lock in actually really cool, really nice. If we kind of turn these like this, the wingspan of this one is the challenge. And we kind of sort of lift them up like this. You can see though, like comparably, in terms of like the body of the plane, they're similar. Though the robot of this one gets a lot smaller. It's very, very interesting, I'm not going to lie. But I did want to show the plane comparison because a lot of people note that this is a large plane. Well, you know what? So was the original animated. Wingspan, obviously the Reveal, the Shield, takes it. Gonna just take that out of it. And before we go on and talk about this guy, let's take a little caveat for a second, if you will indulge me. Yes, indeed, before we eat the main course, let's go for some fast food first with the animated McDonald's Lugnut. And you know what? It's fairly, this is fairly involved and substantial for something that was just like a fast food figure included in, I assume, a Happy Meal, I guess. I love the kind of metallic-y green. That's beautiful. Kind of two slightly different shades of purple, depending on the plastic, but nothing that's, egregious by any stretch of the imagination. We have the arms under here, and we even have the yellow stripe going around, though we don't have the little black diagonal stripes on it. I mean, come on, it is what it is. Look at what we're dealing with here. To do the transformation, very, very simple. We fold those legs out, we fold the entire body forward, and we fold down those arms. If I stand Lugnut up, kind of almost going off screen. I'm just going to recenter things ever so slightly, but in the end, for the fast food version, boom, here's Lugnut in robot mode. There we go. I think that's probably a little bit better. Lugnut, in terms of look here, I don't know, let's say 8.5. You know, you definitely know that's Lugnut, granted. This is quite the chest. But like, for what it is, it's very recognizable. It even has the dual cannons like molded in on the side and stuff, as well as kind of the windows up front. We don't have the paint, but what do you expect? Nice little head with the little mono eye. We even kind of sort of have elbows, really, in essence. But like, that's it. And I guess a mono knee, if you're so inclined. The legs do not come apart, and that's it. So like, articulation is, you know, like a 3, right? It's nothing great. But the transformation is fun, easy, simplistic. Even if I want to just flip it back now, I mean, it's so easy. Enough moving pieces on something that was like in a fast food meal to be interesting, but like, you know, I guess the transformation for what it is a 5 or 6. Like overall, this is a 5 or 6, maybe a 7. In terms of being something fast food, I think it's one of the better ones that I've ever looked at. I'm going to give it like a solid 8. I mean, it's not something that you would have in your main collection, I don't think, as a representation of the character, but for what this is fun. And yes, indeed, here we have animated Lugnut, and what can I say? I mean, Lugnut is a big bruiser for the Decepticons, and about as loyal as you can get to Megatron. Good buddy to Blitzwing, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it's a neat, like, kind of cargo plane. Now, this whole piece here comes off, and I'm going to take it off now, and it opens out, and this is the big, like, axe piece. There's a little tiny, teeny, like, button down here, but you can't push it up now. The idea is that you push this into his hand when the time comes, and there's another little tiny, teeny button in there that hopefully will become depressed when you push it in his hand, and his claw kind of closes around it. If not, you should be able to push it in. Can I push it in? I've been able to push it in with a toothpick. Yeah, and then pop these, right? And bring them all the way up. So that's how that works. This is supposed to go in his hand to push a little button there, and then you depress this button down here by, like, you know, him clobbering his hammer down, and it opens up like this. Nicely painted in here with the red and the yellow and the black and stuff. Looks pretty cool. I'm going to leave this like this for now. We'll see it in his hand in just a little bit. Why didn't I wait to do it when I had it in his hand? Because, quite frankly, I have yet to be able to actually get it to work in his hand. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it's my fault, but I can't get it to work. Let's do the transformation, and then we'll do some scores and comparisons, and we can get out of here. Okay, so with the hammer out of the way, and a rather odd-looking plane now, let's do the transformation. These tips go up, and we unpeg. There's a peg right here that goes into a peg hole. We unpeg an arm there, and we unpeg an arm there. We fold in a landing gear, and we fold up a landing gear. We can use these pieces, these little purple pieces. They push down and open his claw hands. This is where the hammer should go depressed into him. Same over here. We bring those down and open his claws. Then here we, in essence, pick off, oh, actually we have to pick these pieces out first. Then we can pick this off and bring it down and straighten out a leg and bring it down and straighten out a leg. With both of those legs down now, we can rotate the whole thing around and snap it up, and it does snap up. There's a couple of heel spurs, one right there and one right there, that come out. His legs are tiny, man, real tiny. Then this folds down, and when you fold that down, the head pops up and the chest splits open. Some people have said that their chest does not go together. The version here does, but I understand that some people might have an issue with that. Apparently you have to disassemble him and loosen a screw within the body to get these to go together if you have that issue. But assuming you can avoid that, boom, he's gone off screen. In the end, here we have Lugnut, Voyager Lugnut, in his robot mode, bit back heavy. I was hoping I was going to be able to get him to stand up. Naturally, I need to readjust the camera. We're also going to put his hammer in his hand. And there you go. There's our boy in robot mode. And like, I like this. The guy looks good, man. The guy looks good. I mean, if I was to pick a gripe, I guess I would say the Decepticon symbol shouldn't be gold. It should be your regular Decepticon symbol. But man, that's a gripe. I want to call this a 10, but I know that the Takara one has a little more accurate purple. I know that the green on that one is more metallic-y and like shimmery, but man, I am hard pressed to not call this fantastic. If it's not a 10, man, it's a 9.5, we'll say. We're going to say 9.5. The transformation, I think, is brilliant. I love it. I love the automorph of the chest and the head coming up. I think that it works nicely. If you can get the automorph to work on the hammer, that's nice. Like I said, you're supposed to use that peg and put it in there. His claw closes around it when you put it in. And like he's supposed to, you know, bang it on, although this doesn't like stay, bang it on the ground like that to make this open, right? So that's how it's supposed to work. Transformation, I love it. I'm going to call it a 10. I think the transformation is fantastic. So a 10 and a 9.5. What about the articulation for this guy? Pretty darn good, honestly. I mean, the head doesn't really do anything, which is a shame. The arms, you can hear the ratchet there. The arms can go all the way around, well out to the side. Bicep swivel, elbow to over 90 degrees. Excellent, excellent elbows. Yeah, really excellent elbows. I guess the claws can open and close if you want them to, because of this feature. No waist, right? Yeah, no waist, which is a shame since you have to turn this around for transformation, but the way it locks in, there's just no waist. Legs go forward. Legs go, oh, only back about that far, but I think it's fine. A swivel, it's not really a thigh swivel, it's more like a below the knee swivel, but it's there. We have a really weird knee. Like, he has a deep knee, but because of the way the joint is, it looks really, really weird. Kneecap moves to get out of the way, tilt forward, nothing to the side. The knees are a bit weird, but they're functional. There's no doubt about it. They're definitely functional. And the dude certainly does have, much like the RTS, a backpack, but I think that's kind of unavoidable, really. And of course, if you wanted to fold up his hammer, you could put it back there. I mean, his hammer is pretty much the size that he is, right? Man, I don't know. I feel like I'm not really limited other than maybe an ankle tilt. I'm going to give it a solid 9.5, man. I think 9.5, 9.5, and 10. This guy's a 9.5. He's fun. He's easy to convert between modes. The plane, very functional, very solid, with excellent landing gear. And the robot, quite functional, quite solid, with a great range of articulation and posability. Even a neat little gimmick when you plug it in his hand and it works properly. I like the guy. Here he is next to some other kind of offerings, so you get an idea of just how diminutive this Voyager was. So, I mean, there you can kind of see, right? The little fast food thing down front, I mean, is a fair height, fairly hollow, but it's fun for what it is. Then we have kind of this lineup here, right? This nice little trio. Clobber is, if anything, a little bit taller than Bulkhead. She does not have the mass. The thing, our Bulkhead, I said, Lugnut, I mean. This Lugnut, as diminutive as it is, there's not really any hollowness on him. Like, if I turn him around, the back of the legs, I guess, but it's minimal. It's pretty minimal. That's about the only hollowness I can think of on the guy, to be perfectly honest with you. So, Clobber has a ton more hollowness behind her legs, behind her arms. It is what it is, although she has a really clever, fun transformation if you have never seen it. But she's what we call Ultra, so I'm just going to take her out of it as well, though I'm a big fan of her. Really, really big fan of her. And then that kind of leaves us with this. I think most people would say that the reveal, the shield, is bigger. But it doesn't have the mass. So this one has compact mass. I think very much in terms of something like the a comparison between, say, Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus and like Siege Ultra Magnus. The Siege looked smaller and shorter, but it actually had more mass. It had more plastic, more product in it. It was more densely packed, which made it feel very secure and solid. That's the story with this guy. Very secure, very solid, densely packed. But I mean, they both look good. I'm very happy to have this version because it fits better with my Generations collection. But to say that there's anything bad or dislikable about Animated Lugnut, other than the fact that Lugnut is arguably too small, man, there's nothing there to dislike, really. Great transformation, great articulation, great look. And I would say that amid the legacy line, somewhere along the way, if there was ever an animated character that deserved a proper big-time update, it would have to be Lugnut. Maybe as a Voyager, but honestly, I think a nice leader class, full mass, nice paint, good articulation, I don't know, maybe find a way to adapt the Skyquake mold and add in the hammer maybe, you know, something like that. Either way, I think that if you want to kind of hook into the animated fans, if there was ever a character that animated fans probably wanted a bigger, better update of, it's gotta be Lugnut. And if we never get it, let's be thankful that we already have a couple of versions that are quite excellent. Overall score for the animated, once again, 9.5, 9.5, 10. Man, overall score is going to be about a 9.75. What a fantastic trip back to animated. And here we are once again. So the Reveal the Shield one is mine, and I love it. I also own Clobber, which is fantastic. I like revisioning the character as a tank. I like renaming a Clobber, changing the gender. Like, I actually enjoy the idea of Lugnut kind of having a sister who's as much of a Lugnut as he is. I respect that in some countries it's still Lugnut. And then we have this guy. Man, oh man, the transformation is excellent. I love it. I love the way the head automorphs up. I love how the sides come kind of off to the side here. I adore that. By the way, I have since gotten this to actually work the way it's supposed to, where I can like bang it down on a surface and now this will pop up. I don't know if I had it misaligned, I don't know if I never had it pushed in enough or what, but I can get the hammer to work now. So that gripe, take it out of here because it works just fine. The articulation is great. The look of the guy, very animation accurate. About the only gripe that I can really levy against Animated Lugnut is I wish he was bigger. That's it. That's really the only gripe. If they were to take, in essence, this and upsize it to even a modern leader, man, I think that would be splendid. If there was ever a character in the Legacy line from any of the universes that they pull from who deserved an update, man, it got to be Lugnut. The only thing is, if you make them bigger, you gotta make sure that the articulation, the engineering, the fun factor, the transformation, that everything that's here is still there. This guy's fantastic despite his slightly diminutive size. Let me know what you think about Animated Lugnut, or this Lugnut, or RTS Lugnut, or Clobber, any of them, all of them. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. Please hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us here on the channel, and especially don't forget that somehow, some way, man, each and every single solitary day, you right there, do make a difference in the world. I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here inside the videos.